Hi guys, welcome back to my channel where we talk about fragrances. My name is Helena and today we're going to talk about the sexiest fragrances for Valentine's Day or for whatever occasions you feel that you want to feel empowered, sexy and celebrate love in all of its forms. As always, don't forget to subscribe. Please subscribe, it would really help the channel. Maybe hit the like or a dislike if you don't like my content. Leave a comment with your suggestions, with your impressions, well, not impressions, with your thoughts about my videos, and maybe hit the notification bell down below in order to be notified every time I post a video if you really like my content. So without further ado, let's get started. So the first fragrance that I would recommend for Valentine's Day or to celebrate love is Rouge Smoking by BDK or BDK. Rouge Smoking should be a cherry kind of fragrance, but I don't really smell the cherries so much. I really smell a kind of very vanillic, soda-ish kind of fragrance that is absolutely lovely, very sexy, but I prefer generally to wear it when I'm out with my friends. And love between friends is still something that you need to celebrate, so I would use it for going out with my friends, but you can use it wherever you want. It's still a very sexy fragrance. It has a medium projection in my experience. It lasts a long time. It leaves a lovely sillage. So try out Rouge Smoking by BDK. Then a very overhyped one, but for a reason, is Lost Cherry by Tom Ford. In my opinion, it smells like a cherry pie. It has almost like a texture, the texture of dried cherries, and it is so sweet. It almost smells like pie, but it's not overwhelmingly sweet. It's still a mature sweetness. The tonka bean is more predominant, and I really love tonka bean. So if you have a little bit more money to spend or you already own Lost Cherry, try to use it on your very important celebration of love, because in my opinion it gives me the image of Lana Del Rey or some kind of character like her, which is a little bit retro, with a very velvety dark red lipstick and maybe a red dark velvet dress and a crown of red roses with thorns and all. It's really sexy. It smells like a sexy lady, and if you can afford it or you can buy a dupe, just try it on some Valentine's Day. Then a very affordable designer one that I recommend is Jimmy Choo Fever. Jimmy Choo Fever, in my opinion, it's all built around the accord of plum, but it's not a fresh plum. It's almost a dried plum, like the Sunsweet ones, the ones that you use to poo. Yeah, that one. I'm sorry. Anyway, it's really sweet. People compare it to black opium, but in my opinion it doesn't really smell like black opium, even if it's pretty sweet and vanillic. In my opinion, it has some kind of facets that actually reminds me of Lost Cherry. Guys, they're not at all dupes, but it has something that reminds me of Lost Cherry, probably because in Lost Cherry you can find plum too, and plum has this kind of dried fruit texture and almost is a little bit powdery but still very sweet, especially mixed with tonka bean or vanilla or whatever kind of sweet note that you can find. And so Jimmy Choo Fever is very sexy and wintry and absolutely perfect for this kind of celebration. I'm sorry, I have my tiny little notebook because I don't have my fragrances with me except one, so that's it. Then another one, a niche one, which is more affordable, in the affordable niche kind of fragrances, and no one talks about it, is Valkyrie by Sylvaine Delacourte. It is very similar to Lyra by Xerjoff, or even Elle by Lolita Lempicka, but it's a little bit more citrusy, especially in the beginning. But the dry down, it's really, really vanillic and similar to those two fragrances I mentioned. And it is very sexy. It is a citrus that is still sexual, that is sensual, and very feminine, very femme fatale kind of fragrance. I absolutely love it, and it's pretty affordable. I would try the all Discover Kit from Sylvaine Delacourte, but the vanilla kind of kit, it's absolutely divine. I would try it. You can find it on the Je Vois website. I don't have any affiliated code. I'm not sponsored, unfortunately, but I use that site to buy most of my samples. So try out Valkyrie from Sylvaine Delacourte, but also the other fragrances in the Vanilla Discovery Kit are so beautiful and so sexy. Try it out. Then I would try, if you are very feminine, very flirty, you want something that is like a little bit fruity, young, not juvenile, but young, but also very elevated, I would try MANAKARA by Indult Paris. MANAKARA is this rose lychee but very sweet kind of fragrance. It reminds a little bit of Helena, of course, because it's rose and lychee, or lychee, I'm not sure. In Italian we say lychee, but I also heard people saying lychee. Anyway, it is fruity, it is rosy, but it's very sweet, especially in the dry down. And you can also mix it with some kind of vanillic fragrance. If you want it a little bit sweeter, you can mix it with something citrusy. If you want it a little bit sharper, it's beautiful, it's feminine, it's this kind of very feminine pink fragrance. If there was ever a pink fragrance, it was MANAKARA by Indult Paris. So try it out, it's beautiful. Then another rosy one, but I don't smell much rose in it, but it's very well loved around, is Musc Noir Rose by Narciso Rodriguez. It is this beautiful, transparent, flowery, but still sweet fragrance, which is feminine, flirty, but not in a very aggressive kind of way. It's still wearable even during the day, and you can mix it almost with everything. It can be layered with any kind of fragrance, and it's beautiful. It's more of a flirty fragrance, or it's really good if your significant other maybe doesn't necessarily like super sexy, heavy, aggressive fragrances. I would absolutely try Musc Noir Rose, but I don't smell so much of a rose. I smell mostly maybe white flowers with some kind of fruity note, and the musk in the base, it's still the musk from Narciso Rodriguez, but I find it less sharp and less animalic, and also less retro, and I really enjoy this fragrance. So give it a try. It's also a designer, so more affordable and more easy to find than niche. Then, if you are more of a transgressive kind of woman, but not necessarily. If you don't mind using a fragrance that is targeted towards men, but is still very sweet, very sexy, very unisex, I would suggest you to try Herod by Parfums de Marly. It is this tobacco, but it's almost like a clean but warm tobacco. At least my boyfriend smelled it almost like a baby powder, but not necessarily baby powder. It's our kind of talc that also adults use. And yeah, I smelled that kind of cleanness with sweetness, but to me it's also very warm, very enveloping, and also a little bit edgy, and it's so sexy. And it is a tobacco kind of, I also smell a little bit of cherry in it, and definitely I smell tonka bean, which I love. I adore tonka bean, and so absolutely try it out. It's perfect for any gender, any kind of person. It's beautiful, it's super sexy. Try out Herod by Parfums de Marly. Then, if you want a rose fragrance that is still very interesting, that has kind of an edge, that is outstanding in the sea of rose fragrances, I would try Tabac Rose by BDK. Another BDK fragrance. Yeah, I love BDK fragrances or BDK fragrances. Anyway, it starts with a very bright, young, fresh rose, which is almost a little bit fruity, but then it dries down to this almost unisex tobacco kind of fragrance that still has that kind of sweet young rose, but has also this kind of very sexy base that is really there, and the two mix in a very sexy unisex concoction that I think would be beautiful on anyone. It's something else, and not a lot of people wear it. I would say that it fits in the realm of the Oriental roses, but it's not the classical rose with oud that you can find everywhere at the moment. So try out Tabac Rose by BDK or BDK. And finally, a fragrance for the people who are very assertive, very self-assured, and don't need anyone's approval will be Noir pour Femme by Tom Ford. It is from the designer part, the not privé line of Tom Ford, so it's a little bit more affordable than its privé line, and it is this woody, sweet, warm pistachio kind of fragrance. It's a little bit spicy, but it's a warm, spicy fragrance. It has a kind of very sexy, warm, enveloping sweetness that is almost edgy, and I absolutely adore. And it has this coffee note, and coffee is this saffron and pistachio ice cream that they make in the Middle East, and it's so beautiful in this fragrance. It makes it lactonic. It is a lactonic, woody, Middle Eastern, mature, but not mature in a vintage kind of way. Mature in a sense of a ladylike fragrance, but a lady who is sexy, who owns her sensuality, who doesn't need anyone's approval ever. And I love it. It's perfect if you have a date, if you don't have a date, if you go out with your friends, if you just go shopping or go out for a walk. It is perfect, especially for winter, because it's pretty heavy. So give definitely a try to Noir pour Femme. If you don't find it, give a try to Noir Extreme by the same brand. It's very similar, but it's a little bit more spicy, a little bit less feminine, floral, lactonic, but still very, very beautiful. Or try a dupe. There are dupes of this fragrance in dupe houses, so try it out. And finally, the fragrance that I will wear on Valentine's Day with my boyfriend, and that I generally wear every time I want to be a little bit more romantic with my boyfriend, because it's the only fragrance that he really likes in my collection, is La Nuit Trèsor by Lancome. And here I have it. Isn't it beautiful? This bottle, it's so pretty. It's like a diamond, and this fragrance, I find it really chocolatey and praliny, and I find that the fruitiness mixed with the rose in this fragrance just cuts out the sweetness and the thickness in a way that makes it even more lovable. But I wouldn't describe it as a fruity fragrance, even if almost everyone says it's fruity. I don't find it so fruity. This is the original one, and it's the one that I prefer in the whole line. I also really like the nude one, the coconut one, but it has been discontinued. But yeah, I prefer that one for spring and summer. And this is so sexy, so lovely, and every time I wear it, at least one person gives me a compliment. And not a lot of people give me compliments, because first of all, I'm not an oversprayer, and so sometimes, very often, my fragrance is not smellable. I just invented a new word. I don't know. Anyway, but also because I tend to like more polarizing fragrances. I really like Aura by Thierry Mugler. I really like a lot of not really loved fragrances, but this is a crowd pleaser, but it's still very sexy. It's still edgy. It's still a femme fatale kind of fragrance, but with sweetness. It has this kind of very lovely cuddly sweetness to it, and yeah, I love it. It's super sensual. It also reminds me of my moments with my partner, and this is in my heart forever. It will always be in my heart. And yeah, so my first choice is La Nuit Trésor by Lancome. Try it, love it, bathe in it. Everyone will compliment you, I can assure you. Anyway, this was my last recommendation. So guys, I hope you enjoyed my content. As always, don't forget to subscribe. Please subscribe. It's a nice channel. I try at least to post pretty often, and I want this channel to grow, and I'm very passionate about what I'm doing here. So please really consider subscribing, maybe hitting the notification bell in order to be notified every time I post a video, and comment, leave a comment. Do you like my choices? Don't you like my choices? What are you wearing on Valentine's Day, or what you generally wear during romantic occasions? Let me know. I'm very curious about it. I'm genuinely curious about it. And also leave a like, leave a dislike, leave a constructive, polite comment with criticism if you have some criticism. I'm very open to criticism until it is polite and constructive. So as always, I hope you will have the best day ever and the best Valentine's Day ever. Even if you're single, especially if you're single, I hope you will have the best day ever, and I hope that you will celebrate love, especially self-love, because it's the most important thing. You are enough and you deserve the best. So as always, have the best time ever, and bye.